Up on the polls. Let me just make sure that yeah, it's recording.
Uh,
I see you guys up in the polls, and I'm really glad that you guys are moving up because we need more teams like you.
I'm
So
happy that people are seeing that we have been doing so good, and I'm more happy that people are voting for us by looking at our work, not just by our promotions only.
yeah, there's a lot of that. We can wax lyrical all day about what we feel about other teams, but it's not really, there's a lot of diverse teams, and we need a diverse group. That's all I can say. You know.
And before diving in, I want to be clear on the basic infrastructure or the basic side, like we talked earlier. Like we are operating the security groups with the Lambda function every 10 minutes. So is there any standard for the 10 minutes, or we are just running? Because there might be the update in the middle or something like that, and we may
Yeah.
not be whitelisted by the other rest of the 21, and they might not have whitelisted us, so
Mhm.
we might not get the proper data also, right? So what do you think about that? Maybe we need to decrease the time, or there is any kind of timings, or the recommended timing by icon or something like that
No, I mean
for
they
the white.
recommended actually. I saw somebody say somewhere, and I don't know, and I think they were somewhat official that you can just sort of update it once a day or something like that. But like really what we did with those security groups is normally stuff that you would be doing in a firewall. And so the by manually by editing those security groups is sort of like I dare say it's sort of a hack, right? In that we're using the security groups of AWS, which aren't supposed to be changing very often, like definitely not like on a Lambda function or anything like that.
But
Um,
if but if any of the like among the 22, the number might be changing maybe in few hours or something like
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah,
Because
absolutely. Well, I mean, the way I think about it as well is the amount of flux of different IP addresses. Like,
yeah.
so the network can handle like a couple nodes being down because it needs 15 nodes to get the consensus, right? And so as long
Mhm.
as the network is, as long as we have 16 p reps or 15 p reps running, right, we should be able to move in and out 6 p reps at a time in between the time that it adjusts the security groups. I'm worried about other teams if they're not using something like us, or they have to have some firewall in place that's updating frequently, you know?
So among the 22, there should be the consensus among 15. Is that?
Yeah, it's 15. So like I have some docs. Well, I had in the presentation that like we need to start parsing
In
out. Hello?
divided by into two.
Oh, I cannot hear you. You I think you got a pretty bad connection. You there? Okay, I'm just gonna keep on going. We need to start parsing out some of the topics that we need to start writing docs on, and I started brainstorming on all of this today. And shit, this is the wrong doc right there. Um,
Hello.
hello.
Oh, sorry, I got caught up. So, is the two-thirds of the majority for the consensus? So, out of 22, we need to have two-thirds for the consensus. That is, that number when we get multiply is it round up to 15. So that's why we have 15 periods to be available for the consensus.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm sorry I kind of jumped to this, but like all the things that we're talking about, like I think that we're all sort of roughly on the same page with some of this. And I was just thinking like things like maintenance planning and stuff like that. It's going to happen where like we're going to need to take down the whole network potentially. Like they're right now they're operating on L4, right? L4 is IP based and all that, and we're going to be moving to L7 is what they say. And so I don't know how the network is going to stay up 100% of the time if there's a major change in the layer of the network routing. And so, and at the same time as well, we're going to have different P-reps coming in and out as they're either voted in or voted out, or whatever's happening that's going to have these different P-reps validating all the blocks. Like, we need to be sort of gaming out like what we can do to make sure that as new P-reps get booted out, we also can cleanly take them all into the whole network, and making sure everybody's coordinated around that, you know? So I think it just breaks down to docs. Like, and somebody sort of just taking the time to start gaming it all out and writing it all out, you know? Because it's sort of, I don't want to say it's not obvious how we do it, but like, I think if we just start putting together plans in a place that we can all react to, you know? Because right now, all the stuff that we're talking about, it's just, I mean, we don't know. Like, we don't have that sort of guidance from the foundation, and I feel like we should be starting to make our own docs with some of this stuff. So I don't know. Is anything I'm saying wrong? Any feedback on that?
No, that would be a good start, because even though we cannot get anything official from Icon Foundation about the structure, so I think we might need to get on the same line or have some queries and maybe reach out someone who could give us answer for that.
Yeah.
If there is a
Yeah. So one of the conversations that I'll be having tomorrow, we have 2 different infrastructure meetings, and so I'll be talking to the European/US folk tomorrow, and we'll talk about this. But if there's anything on this list that you guys at iBriz want to pick up, like, you guys have first dibs on anything you want, you know. But like, I think a lot of this really breaks down is just the documentation, so we can all start working back and forth and building in best practices in like a centralized place that we can all reference. So is there anything on this list that you guys, I mean, this is non-exhaustive as well, this is very high level, is there anything that you guys want to jump in on documentation wise? So one of the things that's happening right now is what? I thought that was a thing. Well, maybe it's just down. There is an alternative documentation source being put together by Pocket Figment right now, and they're doing it all on WordPress and stuff like that. And then I've got my I got these, and you guys can add to these if you want as well. I can give you guys a whole section of stuff, and you can maintain your own GitHub repo to maintain your own docs. I don't know how to do it, but I'm just stressing docs. I don't know what to say. Like, I think the docs, it's already come up in the call. We need, you know, we can't really rely on some of the icon docs. And so I feel like we just need to start taking that over and starting to build our own best practices. So I don't know, I'm on a tangent right here. Anybody? Anyway, all right. Okay, well, anyways, moving on. Back to network maps. I mean, yeah, what do you guys think? Any other questions specifically on this?
Actually, we were discussing about the network, going back to the same topic of citizen and PREP. We're discussing that we should have a same IP address for citizen as well as an PREP node, and have an internal IP connecting between them, so that all the block syncing that we presume it is happening on 9000 port, the citizen and PREP can sync with each other. What's your idea on that?
The same IP address behind the same load balancer, basically?
Yes.
Yeah, that's totally legit.
So that whenever we get a connection from the other PREP host, then we direct them to our PREP node, and other communication we direct them to the citizen node.
Yeah, and so so just be clear, like 7100 going to prep, 9000 going to citizen.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
all the communication in 7100 goes to the PREP node from other hosts that we have whitelisted, and the rest of the communication goes to the citizen node, and PREP just get internally connected to the citizen node and does the syncing of the blocks.
Yeah, that's totally, that's where I'm at. I totally agree. And so right now I've got an application load balancer in front of it, but it really should be a network load balancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just to give you an update of where we're at, like I put together a network load balancer and an application load balancer in Terraform. And so that's all sort of sitting out there. It hasn't been tested though. So that was one of the things that one of our engineers was going to do. So, but that's all up there. Yeah, that seems reasonable. That's what I'm doing right now. That's where my head's at. And so just to be clear on some of these different different configurations right here, the first one that we're doing is just going to be a simple citizen node with the Nginx reverse proxy on it, pointing traffic down to the prep node with no load balance or anything like that, because it's just a single instance. But the idea behind that is that, like, so this actually kind of gets a little complicated here. So when you get DDoSed, there's a couple different things that you can do, but obviously you're going to need to scale your Nginx sentries, right? And so those Nginx sentries, they have to have a pretty fast response time to be able to scale up properly. And so what we're doing is we're gonna bake specialized AMIs with Packer and configure them with Ansible. And then we're gonna register the AMIs, and that'll be part of the launch configuration and the auto scaling group for the sentries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're gonna have a like hard-coded value in the configuration, not like in the not in the Ansible or the Packer steps, you know, the Ansible done on the Packer. It's going to be in something like user data or something like that to be able to dynamically pull the prep node IP so that it forwards traffic properly. Because that's the only thing that couples the sentries and the prep is like the private IP of the prep, because that just needs to get baked into the Nginx configuration file.
So you is not hard coding the rest of the 21 IPs or the URL from the Icon Foundation?
No, so they had what's this now? There was a good contribution by, I think it was Block 42, and check this out. It's right here. So they built in a shell script that has all the logic to compare whether or not there was a change in the IP address, where they're doing it right here. They build a checksum, and then they just compare it. And then if it changes, then they, I guess they Docker exec into the container and just reload it after updating the Nginx configuration file, which is mounted through a volume.
So it will run at the starting of the runtime of the AMIs to instance, and then keeps on polling for the IP.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, on a cron job. So there's like a cron tab thing up here.
Good.
Or maybe they just tell you to run it on a cron job, you know? It's up to you
Yeah.
how often you want to run it.
So this script will be already there on the Ansible and on the AMI.
We're not using this script yet. So we're in the middle of just kind of configuring the Nginx configuration file. So yeah, if you guys want to, if we can collab on that, that would be great. Really appreciate that. But yeah. So this script itself, yeah, like we would, sorry, maybe I don't think I answered your question before. This should be on the Ansible configuration step, yeah, because this is dynamic. Well, this is static.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. We're still in the middle of getting this working. But let's collab on this sort of stuff, because as soon as we sort of get it right, then we'll bake the images with all of this stuff and then release it so that everybody can bake the images and push them up to AWS and tag them appropriately and then reference them properly when we build the launch configurations for the auto scaling groups. But it's just the scripts that we need to be able to configure the AMIs with from Ansible, like all the Nginx and everything like that, and all this, you know, the shell script to update the whitelist. That all, yeah, that's all going to get baked in basically, and we're just sort of struggling with some of that. Any other questions?
Yeah, however, and I see. Are you getting zombie into the console part? No, or
Yeah, so we deployed a console cluster, and we're using that as an internal DNS basically to do service discovery for all of the hosts that we're running. So every single host will get a Prometheus agent installed on it, and then we run a DNS, like an internal DNS, that we then discover all of our services. So like all the Nginx sentries, the citizen, of course, the prep are all going to get monitored based on Prometheus with the service discovery mechanism in front.
what?
And so that's working right now. We're going to modify it, and we're sort of like, we're in the middle of things. Like we're in the middle of things a little bit, because we know we need to use console to run Vault, and that's like the next thing we're planning on trying to do next week, is get our Vault cluster up. But I mean, right now it's working, and that's how we're doing service discovery. And so it's one of those things that we thought to ourselves, like, wait, should we run console in Kubernetes? And we were thinking about that, and we decided not to, because Kubernetes is, like, we're not really comfortable with running it in production yet, to be completely honest, you know. Kubernetes can be tough, and we just want to iron out some kinks yet. And just because Kubernetes is mainly serving in a support role with the monitoring and the logging, that we didn't want to couple also our service discovery to that, because it seems like it's just a lot to kind of throw into K. Well, not a lot, but it's pretty normal, I'm sure. But like, if the Kubernetes cluster fails, then we don't want that to take down anything else. Like the Kubernetes cluster should behave completely independently.
Yeah, but for the Kubernetes service discovery, you don't need console, right? This console part is for both for the instances and Kubernetes, or only for the Kubernetes, the console discovery part.
It's just for the instances and for discovering the Prometheus server. I haven't dug too far into this, but like the engineer was like, "Oh, I'm running console to do all this because it's easier and it's more robust," and it made sense on first glance, honestly.
I think let me give you a different kind of architecture. Like, let's not whatever not running the Prometheus on all of the services, but only the node agent. Like, there is a node agent from the Prometheus stack. It's called node exporter. So we run node exporter on all of the services while baking the AMI. We keep at the time of starting, that's on the node exporter, and Prometheus is running only on one server, and the Prometheus scraps the data from node exporter, and we can like say or visualize from Grafana or something like that from Prometheus. We don't need to run Prometheus on every instance. I mean that, right?
Well, there's the Prometheus agent that exports the metrics. That's the only thing that's running on all the instances.
But
Node exporter, right?
I think the whole purpose of running the Prometheus on every instance is getting the instance metrics, like how much of the network traffic is doing, what is the memory, CPU, or stuff like that. So for that, I think we can run node exporter on every instance and configure Prometheus to scrap the metrics from each of the node exporter running on each instance.
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't
That's what we're doing.
Prometheus running every instance, but only the node exporter, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's I haven't synced up with the engineer about exactly what he's done, and he just got it working like 2 days ago, and I haven't looked into his work that much, but that's my understanding. And it's only the console cluster is really only there for the node exporter to how exactly is it? Shit. I'm a little confused myself now. I mean, it's just assumed that all of this stuff is supposed to be dynamic, right? And so we don't know where the K8's cluster really is, but we could put that on DNS, and I guess it just doesn't really matter. I'll have to talk with my engineer about that, because like I mean, when he just sort of said, oh, I'm going to use console, and I'm like, well, we need console anyways for Vault, so go ahead, do it, you know? I'll think about that.
Okay.
You
Or
know?
we can use some another storage engine apart from console also for Vault. Maybe RDS or
For Vault,
yeah, the
uh, we
storage engine for Vault.
yeah, our plan was to run like a tiny little Vault cluster, like of just T2 micros, basically, because they're only like, that's all. We don't have much storage needs for Vault, I would imagine. I don't think it's going to store that much.
Yeah.
So as far as the
What
storage backend, console is sort of a pretty, you know, it's the recommended one for Vault.
and the purpose for using the Vault is for storing the certificates only?
That's just
Or
store all of our. It's actually like there's like 5 reasons.
yeah.
Storing the key store, storing all the passwords, storing all the SSH keys, and then in real architecture, we also have sort of the network going to peer everything, but we're certainly like, so this was what I just am showing right here. This is really for testnet stuff, because we're going to be running a number of different configurations, and because I got everything like working on one click, literally like 10 minutes before the call started, we can run as many of these clusters as many of these prep nodes as we want. Because we can just put it on a loop and code generate everything and run it all. I'm going to put out a proposal and a big thing on how all that works. But like the production cluster, that the production architecture that we're going to be running, we're going to have a bastion host, and that's going to be peering to all of our different hosts like this. And then Vault is so the way that the access rights are going to work is that users on the outside are never going to have like any passwords to any of the databases or anything like that. They're all going to prove their identity to the bastion, and then get like one-time passwords through Vault to be able to access every single other resource. So it's one of the things that we're working out right now, but like it's the idea behind everything is that all the secrets go into Vault, and then Vault gets specific permissions to be able to create like brief one-time passwords that have like a TTL on it that expire when they're not needed. And so users are just sort of granted temporary credentials through Vault to everything else.
We're also doing the same infrastructure, like generating the SSS credential only at the required time and only for like few hours of each time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a Vault expert, but that's the token flow basically.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. So and yeah, we're just working some of that stuff out, and I'm glad you guys raised the point about console. I'm going to dig into that, whether or not we actually really need some of that. But I mean, it does come in handy to be able to do service discovery across the whole cluster.
But we don't need console because Kubernetes itself has a service discovery. So I think then let's talk with the engineer who did that, or
Well,
maybe
to be clear, like it's not doing service discovery inside Kubernetes. It's doing service discovery for everything else outside of Kubernetes.
That makes sense then.
Yeah. So, but like, and so I sort of retract what I was saying before. Like, you know, because of the mechanism with which Prometheus scrapes logs from the machines, you really just need to have K8s aware of the machines, right? But in the logging case, when we're going to be running the FluentD agent on all the nodes, that it needs to actively send the logs to K8. So in one case, K8 needs to know about all the instances for metrics, and then conversely, all the instances need to know about K8s to send logs. Right?
Yeah.
So, so Raju, what do you think about Elasticsearch?
Yeah, I was talking with the robot, and you are setting up the like Q2 IAM part, and I also asking for the Helm charts. The existing Helm chart of the Elasticsearch.
Oh, you talked to Richard about Q2 IAM.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, he was working on that. Cool.
Yeah. And I also forward the Elasticsearch Helm charts from the Elastic official repo. So I should be doing the setup for that. But I'm in CPD.
Yeah, so something to keep aware of when you're doing that is I built just like I got bored and I decided to just do it. I built an Elasticsearch cluster, and it's sort of it's using the managed Elasticsearch on instances. You know, do you think that anybody will? I mean, people should be like. People should be having some logs. Whether or not they use Elasticsearch is sort of based on how professional the node operator is and what they actually plan on doing with those logs. You know, so we can easily just have FluentD pipe all the logs up to S3 and just dump them in the CloudWatch and good luck querying them, you know? But like for most node operators who don't really care, or I don't want to say most node operators who don't care, everybody should care, but I don't know if everybody's going to want to run an Elasticsearch cluster, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I threw it up. It's there. We can use it. It works. But like what I would like to see is if we can sort of understand what configurations are shared between using Elasticsearch off Kubernetes and using Elasticsearch off of the managed services, because it would just be nice to be able to provide those two options to people.
Managed service means the AWS provided Elasticsearch, right?
Yeah.
Or from the Elastic.co.
Yeah, it's an Elasticsearch cluster.
From AWS or the official Elasticsearch or the
No, it's from
premium
AWS.
one from AWS.
Yeah.
That's also we'll be using that, and it's kind of expensive because Elasticsearch is always expensive because it's sucking all of the memory. So let's see how
Yeah,
it works on APS, and we can dig into the Elastic by
yeah.
AWS.
I feel like I mean, persistence is obviously very difficult in Kubernetes, you know, and we just need to be,
Yeah.
that's why I'm just a little hesitant of wanting to run a lot of production workloads on Kubernetes until we sort of get comfortable with it, because we're starting to like look at things like Rook for managing like Ceph OSDs and block devices and stuff.
Yeah, it's
But
always hard to maintain the stateful services from the Kubernetes. Yeah, we can set the log to the AWS managed Elasticsearch and like dump weekly, dump the logs weekly to S3 and just pump out if we need anything from the log. We can also do that.
so like S3 for long term.
Yeah, we can say it like after 1 week or after 1 month, we
Yeah.
just dump out the logs from Elasticsearch to S3, and if there is any kind of need, then we can just pump out the from the S3 and go into Elasticsearch.
Yeah, I'm all about it. Like in the end, I want to be using Kubernetes, but like in the meantime, if we can just sort of, if we have problems with Kubernetes and stuff like that, if we can start
Yeah.
to parse out what configurations are the same between that and the managed Elasticsearch, that would be amazing.
Yeah, the configuration will be similar. The only thing is that the AWS managed Elasticsearch is kind of lagging in the version. No, not too lagging because we have I think 7.3 or something like that from the official one, and the AWS provider is running on 7.1 version. So except that, there is nothing to worry about, and the security group is handled for AWS Elasticsearch also, and there is not authentication. That might be a problem because if we are running the Elasticsearch inside VPC, then there is no username password authentication, but only the security groups is handling that. That will be one of the problem for sending logs
Um,
from the security perspective.
why would that be?
So there are two cases, like you can keep the elastic source in the VPC or out of VPC, and if you keep it out of the VPC, then there is AWS Cognito authentication in there, and if you keep the elastic source inside VPC, then the authentication or the security source is handled only by the security groups of the
Yeah,
elastic source. So
yeah.
there won't be the username password authentication in that case.
So, I mean, but we can peer the logging cluster
Yeah,
with,
yeah, sure.
and
You
then
can peer.
we're fine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now, the way I set it up was I built my own logging VPC and just peered it with like everything, basically.
Yeah. And you
So
have to turn on the DNS discovery on the VPC because Elasticsearch URL is like something like aws.com or something like that.
um,
Yeah, your DNS support is enabled. Yeah.
yeah.
Good. Good.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'm not an Elasticsearch. I don't have experience with Elasticsearch. I'm sort of gonna lean on some of you for some of that stuff.
I'll sync it over then. It might be seeing you.
Cool. Yeah, that's sort of his next thing to do. So yeah, I mean that one guy, that guy Richard who you're talking to is a G. He's really good. So
So let's dive into the other topics.
yeah, I don't know if there's anything else. Any
Okay.
questions you guys have? Anything you guys want to raise? I had some things. So you guys know what's up with testnet right now? Nope.
We are running testnet, right? So that.
Yeah, we are online in testnet. We have both citizen and period mode up in testnet at the moment.
Have they updated the Docker image lately? Are we supposed to do something?
New Docker image is supposed to arrive around this time, but they haven't updated it yet. It was supposed to come in 27th of September,
Okay.
but still no
Guys,
on that.
guys, I have to go. I will join in a few minutes, or I will see the recording.
All right. Cool, man.
Okay, sure, Raju.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, we should think about an agent to make the test nets easier, because it's painful to have to wait till node operators sort of get a message on Telegram just that they're paying attention to do some updates so they can, you know, I don't know. It's a little painful right now. Yeah, we should think about that though. Yeah, we already talked about citizen node networking, and then secrets. This is really just a general question. What do you guys think about having all the different P reps sort of expect that they're all going to have GPG keys? And this whole idea of also, this is a whole thing. Like, there's hard-coded password right now in the Docker compose script. Right. Shoot, I don't know where it is, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a hard-coded password right in here.
Yeah, there is a hard-coded password for the keystore file.
Yeah, the key store. I'm trying to find it. It's in here somewhere. It's down
In
here.
the Docker Compose, you can search for the Docker Compose.
Yeah, it's
I don't think inside the Nginx, but rather, yeah, somewhere outside.
yeah. So I don't think we got it. There's nothing good that's going to come out of us talking about this. I feel like this is an issue, though. This is a major issue. I feel like. But I think that the only way of dealing with this is with GPG keys. Or something along those lines.
We advocate for the strong network, and any ideas that will strengthen the network security is welcome by us.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna raise this issue and see if what's going on, if we can figure out a way to encrypt that password and do it properly. This is an issue. We'll deal with it. That's all I got on everything. So yeah, if you guys don't have any more questions, we can end the call right there.
I'm okay. Please continue.
I mean, I love hearing myself talk, but I think, I don't know. Let's just sort of end it. We're gonna do these things every week. Let's just continue to evolve. So one little quick thing at the end right now. This is now working. I tested this on my own machine. We had some bugs before, but I'm about to commit these changes. This is in cookie cutter icon prep simple.
Okay.
This is deploying a prep and a citizen node and configuring them all. The only thing that we're not doing right now, well, I'll include it, but I mean that it runs. It gets to the point now where, like, where is this thing? It gets to the point now where it's running the container right away and mounting the volume. So yeah, it's running full on. I think this is the citizen node right here. So this is a one-click deployment of a citizen node. All you need is this information. You just fill that out. And so like the region, your account ID, your corporate IP, public key, private key, and then key store path. And then I'm gonna need to include the password. So that's all you need. And it'll run the citizen node at this point. So,
It looks cool. Please update, please commit it, and then we'll check it out.
yeah, I'll check. I'll commit it tonight. Check it out. Let me know. I'd like to have a team run it and see if they ran into any issues before I send out a sort of like press release. And I'll just say, like, if you guys test it, I'll include it. And iBriz was the first to test, and they said it's good, you know. And this will be like a, you know, like the anybody and their mother can run the citizen node kind of thing.
Okay, fine. This community will check it out. We have Shramik in our team who will be testing it, and we'll provide you with an update about it. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. All right, that's all I got.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon. And yeah, just the looking forward to Raju working with Richard from my team. Richard's very capable. I'm sure they will get along great. But looking forward to collaboration.
Yeah, I've heard about you. The guys talking about the logging with Elastic Stack and something like that.
Yeah,
We'll keep you updated. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. Cool. Looking forward to it.
Okay. Have a good night, Rob.
Yeah, you too, man. Take care.
Man, bye.
All right. Bye-bye.